Hi there, I'm Julie Tam, managing broker of LYN Realty. Thank you for joining me for Smarter Real Estate weekly on Wednesdays. I find myself today in the beautiful Braeswood Place neighborhood in Braes Oaks, which is inside the loop between the city of Bel Air and West University in Houston. So anyway, today what I'm talking about is a super hot topic with today's crazy, insane, think of whatever adjective you want to fill in, market, the real estate market in the Houston area, as well as really in most of the country. I'm doing two videos. I'm talking about buyers and I'm also talking about sellers. Today's video is about sellers and how you can maximize the market to sell your home at the best price and the fastest. My buyer video is about strategies on how you can win in what are so often these bidding wars of so many multiple offers. We're not talking about like 5 offers. We're talking about some homes getting like 50, 90 offers. I mean, it's insane. So anyway, today we're talking about sellers. Just walking down the street so you can enjoy views of some of these beautiful $1 million+ homes while I talk about how to maximize your sales price. So here are 3 key things that I'm going to go over today. Certainly there are more strategies, but these are the 3 main ones I want to focus on and how I'm advising my clients. So first of all, this is advice for any market, not just this market, but it's especially important in this market, which is to price it right. So if you think that just because the market is super hot, you can just overprice and try to, get offers, right? That may work in certain neighborhoods and with a specific home that's really popular, something that's just really hot, which, if you're using a realtor, which I seriously advise you do, use a very qualified, experienced realtor who's done very well, like myself. Anyway, who knows what they're doing. They're going to be able to advise you on whether that neighborhood is a place where you could price higher, right? Than what would be considered the right price in today's market. Now, keep in mind the right price in today's market is probably going to be higher than, possibly even ever before, certainly than in recent times. And so you're already going to have a higher price. But if you want to try to price it even higher than that, like push the envelope, go higher than what all the other comps are, even by a little bit, right? That potentially could be a strategy. But in a lot of cases, you want to just price it just right. And even there's a strategy where you should price a little bit lower than just right so that you can get a frenzy of interest where people are like, oh my gosh, this is such a good deal. Then that's when you get tons of offers and they tend to be over asking price. So the side note I want to add to this is that homes that are not priced right, that are priced too high, often what we are seeing is those homes are having to reduce their price. Those sellers are having to reduce their price and they sit on the market longer. Here's another factor that plays into how long your home is going to sit on the market and what price you can get. Make sure your home is move-in ready and updated, okay? I know for some people, they don't have the cash to spend perhaps right now to remodel or whatnot, and that's kind of a different story, but if you can, you need to upgrade and get your home updated to today's trends, or at least, most of it. Or if your home was updated, maybe just, excuse me, I had a little dry throat. It's actually kind of a chilly day today as I'm shooting this. So if your home was updated, say a few years ago, you probably will be okay. But if your home hasn't been updated for like 10, 15, 20 years or more, that's when you're going to have a hard time selling. And also if your home is in bad shape in any other way, like needs repairs or really needs a good paint job, needs new carpet because your carpet stains or whatnot, then you're going to have a hard time selling. So today's market is people who really want to have a home ready to move in. Several years back, and of course even dating back before then, of course, there were a lot of people looking for good deals. They were looking for foreclosures and short sales and just distressed properties when we had a lot more of those, right? Like during the time of the Great Recession and so forth. And so that is when people were wanting to get homes for a low price so that they could fix them up, basically get a good deal, and then go ahead and update to what they wanted. But in today's market, people want the home to be ready to move in. They don't want to have to coordinate contractors and deal with people coming into their home. And I think part of it has to do with the pandemic and just people being concerned with bringing so many different contractors into their home and the inconvenience. And then, of course, they're working from home, which there's pros and cons to that. Then you're home, when the contractors are, but then you also may have kids at home that are trying to do virtual learning. And so there's just a lot of disturbance. So it's just really not a time when people want to buy a fixer-upper. There are still people out there like that, and especially investors who might want to get, a fixer-upper because they don't have to live in the home. They're going to get it fixed up vacant and then, lease it out. So then they're still looking for good deals. But I'm talking primarily in most cases, in most markets, people just want the home to be ready for them. So if your home is not updated and not ready to go, and other neighboring homes are, your home is going to most likely sit on the market for the longest, all else being equal. And also then you'll end up probably having to drop the price, and people will come in with lower offers, and you won't sell as well. So you want to take advantage of this hot market and maximize it the way that you should. Case in point, we own a house in Louisville, Kentucky that we are in the process of getting ready to sell. And I'll be doing at least a video on that process of the remodeling and everything. We're doing a pretty extensive remodel through the whole home just to get it updated and, some little repairs done. And so that way we can sell it for the highest price and fast. Okay, third thing that I want you to think about as a seller is the best offer is not always the highest price. The best offer is the best offer that will close, okay? If you get an amazing offer of the highest price, but that buyer cannot get to closing because their financing falls through, so their loan doesn't get approved, or whatever else happens, the appraisal comes in low and the buyer paid so much, but now the buyer cannot make up for that price difference for the lender to be able to give that loan, then that's not a deal that's going to work out. So you want the best offer that can actually successfully close. Here's what I'm talking about. When you're screening all of these offers, there are so many different terms, and this is where a very experienced real estate professional comes in that can help you decipher everything. And I'm speaking for all my other real estate professionals. You don't necessarily need to come to me. Wherever you are, whatever city you're in, find a local pro who can help you, who knows that market, okay? Because you want to make sure that the buyer really is well qualified for their loan. That pre-approval letter in and of itself doesn't mean anything. You need to talk to the lender, see if they've actually sent that file through underwriting and looked in detail at the buyer's assets, income, and credit report, and literally looked at everything, right? Not just on a cursory level. Make sure they've really literally practically gotten loan approval, just minus getting a house under contract. And so make sure that buyer is really solid. Of course, if it's cash buyer and you see the proof of funds, then that's pretty good to go, unless the buyer does something crazy and loses the money. But otherwise, that's a little bit more worry-free. So yeah, you want to make sure they're qualified. And then you also want to look at all of their other terms. So for example, I mentioned about a low appraisal potential. If you've listed the home for like $200,000 and someone bids $250,000, you're not going to see the extra $50,000 unless the appraiser appraises it for that much. Because if the appraiser appraises it for only $200, or maybe even gives you $210, for example, well, the lender is going to lend based on that appraised value. They're not going to lend based on what's under contract. So if the buyer was getting a loan that was 80% of the list price, they're going to get a loan that's 80% of the 210, if that's what the house appraised for, not 80% of 250,000. So then the buyer must come to the table with extra money to make up the difference in the loan amount that they didn't get. They've got to close the gap by bringing their cash to closing, or they're going to ask you, the seller, to bring that price down so that they can buy your home. So you see how these problems can arise? There's also other things that buyers can offer that are attractive, right? They can offer to not have you pay for their closing costs. They can also offer to pay for some of your closing costs, pay for the survey, don't ask you for a residential service contract, aka home warranty, but pay for it themselves. They can even offer to pay for the title policy, even if it's typical for the seller to pay for it. So these are just some examples of things. They can also offer you a shorter option period so that your home doesn't sit on the market for too long, waiting for them to do their inspections and decide whether they want to back out, and now you've just lost all these days, right? They can take away certain contingencies and not ask you to do certain things, certain repairs or whatever. Some people are even waiving inspections. That's kind of crazy, really, because I'm going to turn around and walk back the other way, because you really as a buyer need to be able to inspect the home and make sure everything's good to go. I would never advise a client not to do an inspection. If you are really that desperate for the home and you're like, nope, I'm literally just not going to even have an option period, well, then that's on you if you want the home that badly. But that's very risky, right? Because you just don't know what kind of black hole of cash you're going to get into, where you're just draining yourself of money. Oh, there's foundation problems. Oh, there's all the mechanical, everything's not working right. That's pretty frightening if you're going to go to that extreme. But you know what? Some buyers are. So as a seller, you need to look at the totality of the offer, not just the price, to evaluate, because the highest price that doesn't get to closing means you made $0. Maybe the second or third highest price that everything else is strong, that can get to closing, that's the one that you want to pick, because all the other terms are good, they're reasonable, they make sense, and the loan is good, is pretty strong and has a huge chance for approval when you've talked to the lender and gotten real with them. Okay, so that's my advice for sellers in today's red hot market, to take advantage of it. Don't be a loser, because it's so easy now to be a winning seller that you don't want to make mistakes that will put you in kind of the smaller percentage of people who are actually losing out in today's market, or not doing as well in today's market. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos, please don't hesitate to reach out to me with a comment or a message. And I hope you will like and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube, and keep watching Smarter Real Estate weekly on Wednesdays. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.